This is the dangers of corn and how it could change not only your relationships but your brain waves. It starts to rewire you, and you are now in jeopardy. Why? Because your future relationships is going to suffer, your spiritual life is going to suffer, and most importantly, your soul is going to suffer. Let's hear this.
Intimacy's kind of like I don't know, for a lot of guys, it got replaced by pornography too. I think really damaged it, especially for me. Once I found pornography, there was a way to have a feeling, a connection with a woman that was safe enough for me to be in.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't going to be hurt.
Yeah.
There was some sexual reward to it.
Yeah.
And I could start it and stop it as I wished. And it was the only kind of relationship I could even really handle, kind of. When I was in other relationships, but none of them were as long as my relationship with pornography, to be honest.
Wow.
Yeah.
And right now I'm I think I'm 77 days off of pornography and 70 days off of masturbation. So I've had sexual activities, but I haven't been touching my wiener or whatever. People that say different stuff, but I'm saying, like, I don't know what they say in your country, topping off the
Wanking.
wanking or whatever. Yeah. Thinking of the queen, whatever that's smooth, but I don't know what they
so far he's obviously opening up and being honest about what has gone through in his life, and you can see how detrimental this stuff is and how it's not of God. It's almost like the perfect weapon. Listen to what he said. Corn has been the longest relationship. Like he's been in a relationship for the longest with that than any of his actual real human relationship. So if that doesn't tell you, not just from a spiritual level, from a scientific level, if that doesn't tell you, it doesn't sound too great, I don't know what does.
Say queen takes rook or whatever. That's like a chess move, but so that's been kind of different. For me, that's been different, but that was a huge thing.
How is it different?
Well, for one, I quit thinking about it. It's like I don't think about pornography. I don't think about like masturbation. I don't have that weird feeling where like I'll masturbate and then I'll just be laying there like I'm still right where I was, but I've like kind of ejaculated or whatever, because like sometimes like semen, or some people call it what, I don't know what people call it or whatever, like party sauce or whatever. I don't even know what people call it, on the street or whatever. But like I feel like the more I keep it in my body, the more masculine I feel, right? And the more of myself I feel, as opposed to just having a leak of it constantly. It's kind of like I almost had a leak of my masculinity, and I would cause the leak, but the leak would happen. And it was just like a dripping pipe. It was like, you look at a dripping pipe, you're like, but you look at a pipe that's not dripping, you're like, hey, this is some pretty good construction
I like
over
that.
here.
I love that phrase, leak of my masculinity. So
yeah, that's kind of what it felt like, now that I really think about it. And then I start to look at women a little bit. I don't think of it just so much in I've always thought of women in more than just a sexual sense, but the sexual part isn't as strong. It's not like, let me just think about sex. It's given me a little bit more space in myself to be like, well, let me think about who this person is, and do I really want to engage with them? It starts to give a little bit more value to sex for me, and by that happening, intimacy is kind of created, because for one, I have a little more intimacy with myself, right? It's like I respect my intimacy a little bit more. I'm not just masturbating. I'm not just like tossing my intimacy off to some person through a screen or something that doesn't really mean anything to me.
Yeah.
And so I think those are some feelings in my head that start to happen, and I start to feel a little bit more, I don't know if it's integrity, but it is a little bit more sense of intimacy with myself.
That's lovely. So one of the reasons that people resort to things like that, particularly after a breakup, is that the brain circuitry that is to do with unrequited love is relieved by certain activities because they cause the same kind of chemical cocktail. And those activities are things like alcohol, cocaine, pornography.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it makes it make sense, right? This is why people
Go
will
to those
indulge in
things.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously they're addictive. So then it becomes something that you need to do more of to get the same reward.
Right. And that becomes your relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then it's like, well, yeah, of course, other relationships are going to be different because I don't even realize the relationships that I put in front of.
And the other thing is that
Human
pornography
relationships.
creates such an unrealistic, idealized version of what a woman should look like and what she should be prepared to do in an intimate relationship, or even not in an intimate relationship, you know, like in a one-night stand or very early in dating. That's very damaging to male and female relationships as well. That, you know, the expectation that you will naturally have if you've been looking at that every day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And to not have it in my brain, and it starts to my imagination starts to start up again. Mm-hmm. Like that's one thing that's disappeared over the years, I feel like, is our imagination, because we have access at anything you want to see. You want to see two gay guys attack a squirrel or whatever. And
Goodness me. I thought they was going to touch on thought they were going to touch on any spirituality points here, but it doesn't seem like it. Let's see what this peak is all about.
I'm not attaching porn to women I meet now, you know? And there, yeah, right there, squirrel attacks twink, right there, that is. Yeah, I don't know.
What? Squirrel attacks. Well, I don't know what this is, but this seems like a side of the internet I don't want to visit.
And that might have been the rebuttal. Who knows where the first attack started,
TikTok.
But yeah, so that's something that's been really neat just on this recently.
Let's see what
Tell me
people say.
something that felt good during your days. Tell me something you felt like maybe you could have done a little bit differently. And then tell me how long you've been off of porn and how long you've been off of masturbation. That's, for some reason, that's all it took. And it's just been so easy.
Well, it's accountability.
Maybe that's it. It's like
Yeah.
accountability with somebody that I trust, I trust. And
that you respect, because you'll feel like you've let them down if you can't send those messages.
that's a good point. Yeah, it's funny.
I'll tell you long term, okay? Because I've heard what they had to say. Let's see what the comments saying. I'm convinced you just posted about counseling sessions. I listened to this entire podcast and I don't think she interrupted Theo once. Yeah, she seems really good actually. Props to her. Yeah, that's a good one actually. That's a good pickup. 3 years clean and happily married, brothers. It's possible. Keep fighting. I guess the happily married part could be playing something into it. I guess, maybe, potentially. I don't know. Theo Von, I'm joking, by the way. If you get it, let me know in the comment section down below. The funniest, most serious. Yeah, isn't it? Goodness me. I'm thinking of the Queen. Yeah, so there's not a lot of spiritual mention going on here, but I'm here to tell you guys, spiritually, what's going on is actually a lot. And I found it ironic how someone who's not actually, I don't know, I was going to say who's not a Christian, but I don't know if he's not a Christian or not. He could be, he might not be, but he sure didn't mention anything to do with Christ. So it's leading me to thinking maybe he's not. But I found it ironic how someone not a Christian, as I said, I don't know, but not a Christian, from what it seems like, mentioned how porn became the relationship, his relationship, and it's the longest relationship he's had. It's like, wow, that actually puts things into perspective. But when we go on the spirituality, this goes and ties in with incubus and succubus. If you don't know who they are, Google them. And you might not be happy with what you see, but I'm here to tell you the truth. So, incubus and succubus. And in fact, I can't even mention too much. Check out my Patreon, and I'm going to be posting some exclusive videos on there where I break some of these things down, because my last video, it got flagged, it got flagged basically and taken down, okay, by the platform that I'm posting on right now, YT. It got taken out by them. So now we have to play smart and just use wisdom. The Bible is saying to be prudent as a snake, so we need to be able to use wisdom and discernment. And so there's certain truths I'm going to be mentioning on my Patreon, so check it out if you want to, if God pushes you to. I'm building that. And but as for this, guys, look, seek God and seek the kingdom, and God will be able to cure you from this and allow you to become more pure through you being obedient to him and putting in the work. It's going to require work, but the Bible says if you fight the devil, he will flee. So we all just need to do our part and just keep on fighting. And with Christ, anything is possible. Let me know which video I should check out next. Like, subscribe, do all of that, and I'll catch you on the next.